Wow. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Sydney, for that really, really kind introduction. And also, thank you to the Gap board as well for all your hard work putting today on. Will you join me in a round of applause for those guys? They really do a great job. So, like Sydney said, my name is Pat Sullivan, and I'm a senior here in the School of Foreign Service. And first off, I'd just like to say congratulations. I know it's no small feat to get here, and it's a real honor for me and a real privilege to speak in front of such an accomplished audience. So I imagine that most of you have some very difficult decisions ahead of you, and my decision to come to Georgetown was also difficult and pretty unique. So today, I'd just like to share that story with you, and I hope that it will make your own choices a little bit easier, and of course, make you see that Georgetown is the best choice. So you heard a little bit about me from that bio, but what you didn't hear about me is that I'm actually a quadruplet. I have one brother and two sisters, all the same age as me, also two very organized parents, thank God. And my siblings and I were all born on the same day, the day after Christmas in 1994, about 2 minutes apart from each other. And naturally, we're pretty close. For the first 18 years of my life, we did just about everything together. School, sports, had the same friends. We even wore themed Halloween costumes. Fantastic Four, The Wizard of Oz, The Beatles, you name it. So choosing whether to stay together or go our separate ways after high school was a big deal for all of us. And initially, we planned to end up in different places. The only school, actually, that all four of us applied to in common out of the 40-something schools that we all applied to was the University of Texas at Austin. So the chances were pretty slim that we'd all end up together. That's not exactly how it worked out. So my brother Dan is now about to graduate from the University of Texas with a degree in chemical engineering. My sister Eileen is about to graduate as a biochemistry major, also from Texas. And my sister Natalie is an English and Arabic major who's about to graduate from, you guessed it, the University of Texas at Austin. So why am I the black sheep, right? I also received an offer to attend UT on a full scholarship, and there was quite a bit of pressure to get with the pack. When I came to my Gap weekend, almost 4 years ago to the day, two of my siblings had already decided to go to UT, and the third was on the way. But as I hope is quite apparent to you now, I chose to come here to Georgetown instead. And it was a great decision. I didn't realize it at first, but over the past 4 years, I've learned that this place, this incredible place, is unique and special beyond words. More than special enough to justify leaving so much behind. And so today I just want to share why I think it's so special with you. The first time I realized Georgetown was exceptional was my freshman year when I met a priest and a spy, a combination that really could only happen on this campus, I promise you. And the spy came into my life as a professor in a freshman seminar on grand strategy. I won't tell you his name for obvious reasons, but we'll just call him Professor H. And I know Professor H was a spy for two reasons. One, because he told me, but two, because all of my papers seemed to come back redacted. Whole paragraphs crossed out, really pretty brutal. And in fact, the first paper I ever turned in came back with a big X through every single page and the words, "Wrong, try again," written boldly in the top corner. It was impressive. I don't know why he took the time to X out every single page of the 10-page paper, but he did. And so not exactly an auspicious start, and I did indeed have to try again on that paper, 4 times to be exact. I kept on turning in drafts to Professor H, but they never really seemed to meet his expectations. And Professor H's comments on each draft were actually some almost always the same thing, some variation of, "This is well researched, but do you actually think any of it's true? Or have you really thought about this?" with really very heavily underlined. And as we moved through drafts, I, as you might expect, became progressively more frustrated with Professor H, and Professor H became progressively more involved in my writing process. He used to cold call me almost always around 11:30 at night from the crappy 1990 cell phone he used, or a payphone, in order to stay off the grid, to ask whether or not I was working on that paper, and the answer, by God, better be yes. It was motivating, to say the least, but you could tell he really cared. Eventually, thank God, I turned in something he liked, and I'll I'll never forget the comment he left on that paper. A, welcome back from whatever faraway planet you went to in October. It's far and away the best backhanded compliment I've ever received. But I will also always remember his remark to be at the end of the class. He pulled me aside and he said, "Pat, I know I was tough on you, but now you actually know what it means to learn." The next semester, while riding high from that well-earned, I think, but small victory, the priest enters the picture. His name was Father McDermott, and he was an older Jesuit with a ton of wisdom. He actually went to Georgetown, and after his sophomore year in 1956, dropped everything to board a cargo ship and began a spiritual pilgrimage around the world, came back and joined the Jesuits immediately after. Like I said, a pretty interesting guy. And I entered his class as my freshman self, my arrogant freshman self, thinking I would dazzle with my newfound scholarly abilities. And I tried, I really did. I always made comments in class that if nobody else, thought were clever, and my papers were actually pretty good. But frustratingly, that was not nearly enough for Father McDermott. The comment I got from him on every paper was, "This is true, but why does it matter?" Or in class, "Good point, what are you going to do about it?" It was maddening. I had just worked myself ragged to meet this high standard of scholarship. What did it matter what I was going to do about it? But over the course of the semester, and after a couple of C's and many more challenging questions, so thankfully no late-night phone calls, Father McDermott did get through to me. And he convinced me that all my knowledge was worthless if I couldn't connect it to the reality I faced every day. And so it was through this unique combination of teachers that I first realized how special Georgetown was. I first realized the unique combination of questions that we ask at Georgetown. What is true, and what am I going to do about it? Georgetown is not a place you come to just get smarter, more knowledgeable, or to gain credentials, though you will certainly do all those things and do them very well here. Georgetown, unlike anywhere else I realized, will force you, as it forced me, to assume responsibility for what you know. In addition to the great education I've received, the opportunities this school has opened up for me have also convinced me that my decision, no matter how hard it was the right one. You've certainly realized by now that Georgetown students always like to be at the heart of the action. And the great thing about Georgetown is that the school gives you access to a network that can place you at the center of whatever field you want to be in. This past summer, an alum helped me secure a sought-after internship at a political data analytics firm here in DC. It was a huge opportunity that allowed me to be front and center for some of the biggest political events in my lifetime, including forecasting the Brexit vote and advising 3 presidential campaigns. And it was an opportunity I never would have had were I not at Hoya. But, and here's the kicker, the even more incredible thing about Georgetown is that you don't even need to leave campus to be a part of something really special. The most exciting moments of my undergraduate career, the times I've been most thankful to be a Hoya, happened right here on the hilltop. I've been able to manage a $1.5 million social entrepreneurship fund, work as an accountant for the largest student-run corporation in the world, sit next to Joe Biden at Mass, he doesn't have a great singing voice, and conduct research for the State Department, all about 5 minutes from my dorm room, which, secret, that allows you to wake up about 5 minutes before you go to anything, and it's a great privilege. So the lesson here, though, is that most people use college as a way to get somewhere and do something interesting after they graduate. But at Georgetown, you're already at the center of everything simply by stepping foot on this campus. You can't avoid it. But the final thing is that Georgetown isn't special just because of its academics or its internships. More than anything, Georgetown is special because of the remarkable community it brings together. We say that Hoyas are women and men for others, and in my experience, that is absolutely true. The students, alumni, and faculty that you will be surrounded by for the next 4 years if you choose to come here and beyond will inspire you to grow as a person to the example they set every day. You'll meet people like my friend Connor, who I think is up there somewhere, and who will win every intellectual and political argument you ever have for 4 years, but will never stop listening to what you have to say. Or you'll meet someone like my coworker Bridget, who one day, my sophomore year, dropped everything to spend 3 hours talking me through declaring a major, and 3 years later is still crazy enough to date me. You'll even find people like the two alumni I met this summer who, despite working in a different business in a different building, tracked me down and took me out to lunch after hearing there was a Hoya in the vicinity. If you come to Georgetown, I can guarantee you one thing, and that's that you'll be stopped after class by people you've never met just to tell you that they appreciated what you had to say that day. You'll have friends who will stay up until 5 a.m. halfway across the world while studying abroad in order to Skype with you and catch up on your day. And it will be these little interactions that really define your time on the hilltop. The minor acts of incredible kindness and genuine friendship I have experienced here have been so valuable, and they will also be the currency that will give the most meaning to your college experience. On this campus, I know, more than any other, you will find a place where you are cared for, respected, and loved. And believe me when I say that that is no small thing. So about 6 weeks ago, 3 of my closest friends and I took a road trip through the worst blizzard of the year to see Georgetown beat Syracuse in the Carrier Dome, Hoya Saxon. And it was a crazy idea. It was absolutely crazy, but it was worth it for the opportunity to gloat. And on the way back, after some close calls at the hands of some angry Syracuse students and some even closer calls at the hands of some icy roads, I started thinking, and I couldn't help but compare the foursome I was currently in to the siblings I had left behind. And I kept turning over this question in my mind: was going to Georgetown worth it? And I have to tell you that it absolutely was. My family in Texas is wonderful, and there will always be a huge part of my life. But by coming to Georgetown, I gained something just as invaluable and just as unique. I found a school that forced me to be a serious student and also take seriously my responsibilities as a human being. I found a lifelong community of people here who cared for me and challenged me and have helped me grow and will continue to help me grow in ways that I could never have imagined. And I found a place at the heart of it all full of serious opportunities. These three things on their own would have made my decision absolutely worth it. But in combination, they create an institution that is totally without peer. And so looking back 4 years later, I can't even describe to you how happy I am that I decided to become a Hoya. And I know the decisions ahead of you will surely be different from mine, but I do hope that you'll end up in the same place as I did. Thank you all so much for your time. Please come to Georgetown. There's no place like it. Hoya Saxon.